key responsibility of our elected representatives, and the Parliament provides special tools or mechanisms just for this. As citizens, we need to understand how they work so we can play our part to ensure that the members of Parliament we elect are using the tools and doing their job well. Here are 4 of the primary tools you should understand and talk to your MP about. Tool number 1, Ministers' Statements. To effectively monitor the government, MPs need to stay informed. Every Tuesday when Parliament sits, different cabinet ministers are scheduled to give an update on decisions they're making on our behalf. These updates are called Statements by Ministers. They cover a wide range of national issues that other MPs, media, and citizens may have questions about and wish to examine further. That brings us to tool number 2. What you do when you want information? You ask questions, and that's why we have question time. Both opposition and government MPs can submit questions to the Prime Minister or Cabinet Ministers for details on, for example, how a contract was awarded or expenditure to purchase tablets for schools. So if you ever have a question for a government minister, try asking through your MP. After all, that's why they're your political representatives. They should represent your questions and concerns to the government. Tool number 3, Parliamentary Debates. When cabinet ministers present the government's proposals for new policies, laws, and programs, parliamentary debates allow both opposition and government MPs to air concerns, make suggestions, and endorse proposals. If you ever watch those debates, you know they can get a little fiery. But the debate is important as it informs decisions and continues until a vote is taken on the way forward. Then we have tool number 4, Parliamentary Committees. The general sittings of Parliament are not always sufficient for detailed examination of government's work, so oversight committees are formed using government and opposition members to do just that. Some committees like the PAC and the PAAC are in place for an entire parliamentary term. Their job is to monitor the use of public funds to find ways to increase value and efficiency while reducing waste and corruption. Cabinet and state ministers are not appointed to oversight committees since they are a part of the government. Some committees are formed when a need arises. For example, joint select committees are formed to review draft policies or legislation or to probe other matters of serious national importance. Members of these committees are both opposition and government MPs and senators, and these committees will usually invite citizens to share their opinions, concerns, and recommendations. So there you have it, 4 accountability tools of Parliament that are used to make sure government run right. Visit jampja.org to find contact information for your MP. Invite them to meet with the community so they can better represent your issues and concerns in Parliament and keep government accountable. Get involved and let's make Jamaica land we love, Jamaica land we own, and Jamaica land we run well. A message from the Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal, funded by the European Union and the Inter-American Development Bank in partnership with the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica.
Jamaica has more than 28 species of birds, land snails, reptiles, amphibians, and hundreds of flowering plants that are only found in Jamaica. I am Marlon Samuels. Join me to learn more about Jamaica's native and endemic flora and fauna.
Know your natives and endemics. Sundays at 11:15 a.m. exclusively on PBCJ, the People's Station.
Denise Williams here, inviting you to join us on Financially Focused, the ultimate destination for go-getters who are ready to take the step-by-step actions to master your finances and create a family legacy. Tune in, watch, take notes, and participate to discover the strategies of our expert guests who provide invaluable guidance and powerful coaching tools to supercharge your financial journey.
Tune in to Financially Focused, Thursdays at 8:30 p.m. only on PBCJ, the People's Station.
Hello, hello, hello. Hello, one and all, short and tall, big and small. I'm so honored that you are choosing to spend time with Amina.
Spend time with Amina, Saturdays at 2 p.m. inside the Children's Corner, right here on PBCJ.
good things are happening in Jamaica. Our unemployment remains the lowest it has ever been, which means more Jamaicans are working and can provide for themselves and their families. Your government is building Jamaica.
The one camping tent. I'm showing why I'm about.
Ended up here over here, son of a lift up now.
Welcome to Flatbridge. The infamous Dopey Church. I never afraid. If you wash your face with rice water, then you can't see Dopey.
No, me don't want to say Dopey, no.
If I turn the yoke to the left, then the airplane will bank to the left.
Oh, that! Oh, that! Where's my bicycle, dog?
Do you wish there were a way your community could get funding to improve a school, health center, sports program, and more? There is! It's the Constituency Development Fund. Here are a few things you probably didn't know about the CDF and how you can make it work better for you. The CDF policy promotes citizen participation in community development and the protection of taxpayers' funds. It outlines that MPs are to meet with citizens at least once every 2 years to agree on the projects needed. You know, it used to be once a year? We should really go back to that. Projects developed without community consultation are not to be approved by the bipartisan CDF Parliamentary Committee. There are 26 government agencies that implement projects, usually for a small fee. Funds are provided directly from the Office of the Prime Minister to the implementing agency, not through the Member of Parliament. The CDF unit monitors project costs and implementation, so if you have questions about how the CDF are run in your community, contact them. To ensure no one project or community gets all the funds, there are 6 project categories with spending limits for each. There must be no less than 5 and no more than 20 projects each year. To learn more, visit jampja.org to view your MP's CDF info and tell them how this fund has impacted you. If you don't see your MP's CDF reports, then put them under little pressure, man. Call, tweet, email. Ask them when they'll submit it and when is the next CDF meeting. Change is possible. It's already happening. What we need is you. A message from the Jamaica Accountability Meter Portal, funded by the European Union and the Inter-American Development Bank in partnership with the Private Sector Organization of Jamaica.
Speeding kills. Obey the speed limit. A message from the Road Safety Unit in the Ministry of Transport and Mining.
Never drive under the influence. It's essential to avoid operating a vehicle if you have been drinking. Refrain from taking certain types of prescription or substances that may otherwise make you impaired. This is a road safety tip by the Public Broadcasting Corporation of Jamaica.
Today, we can report 2 consecutive years of reduction in major crimes and murders, with a significant reduction of almost 20% in murders for 2024.
Between January 2022 and January 2025, we have reduced murders by 51%, and January 2025 had the lowest monthly murder count since September 2014.
Our efforts have also resulted in the reduction of active gangs by 50%. We continue to increase firearm seizures, and in more communities, we are experiencing less violence. We will realize our vision of Jamaica as the place of choice to live, work, do business, raise families, and retire in peace and prosperity.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Jamaicans, practice proper disposal of garbage, and if items can be reused, recycle them. We all have a part to play in protecting our environment from pollution. We are building Jamaica.
The one camping tent. I'm showing why I'm about.
Ended up over here, son of a lift up now.
Welcome to Flatbridge. The infamous Dopey Church. I never afraid. If you wash your face with rice water, then you can't see Dopey.
No, me don't want to say Dopey, no.
If I turn the yoke to the left, then the airplane will bank to the left.
Oh, that! Oh, what me? Where my bicycle, dog?
Join the conversation focusing on Jamaica's development. Tune in to the post-cabinet press briefings, Wednesdays live at 9 a.m. with a rebroadcast at 9 p.m. right here on PBCJ, the People's Station.
She want a lover, man. She want a lover, man.
Woman want good love. Now sympathize. Woman want good love every night. Right up. Love a girl. Step up.
She want a lover, man.
Action. That's a bag of mood. So we. Don't be with the girl them don't go. Action. That's a bag of mood. So we.
And I don't got me never in love. And I don't got me never in love. Come me a winner in love. Me no spinner in love. And I don't got me never in love. And I don't got me never give me heart. Still look, you know, go see me bar. Come me a winner in love. Me no spinner in love. And I don't got me never in love. Hey, this is Nadine Sutherland. You're watching PBCJ, the People's Station. Keep it locked, you know. Keep it locked.
She want a lover, man.
Tell me something. How much time you ever hear the...
Come July, your NHT home improvement loan will increase to $3.5 million for qualifying applicants. Your government is caring for you.
Jamaica, I can help you protect our citizens.
Jamaica Eye will play a part in increasing your public safety.
Jamaica Eye is part of an island-wide network of camera surveillance systems designed to increase the safety of you, our citizens. If you have a camera system outside your home or office facing a public space, log on to jamaicaeye.gov.jm today. Jamaica Eye, we're all connected. The Ministry of National Security, creating a safer and...
and laying aside all private interests, prejudices, and partial affections, the result of all our counsel may be to the glory of thy blessed name, the maintenance of true religion and justice, the safety, honor, and happiness of the King, the public weal, peace, and tranquility of the island, and the uniting and knitting together of the hearts of all persons and estate within the same in true Christian love and charity, one towards another, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
You may be seated. This Honorable House now resume its sitting. It is indeed always an honor to be present here at this Honorable House of Representatives, and particularly for today, Wednesday, May 28, 2025, for the continuation of the sectoral debate. I would like to extend special welcome to the board chairman from the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development, constituents from Kingston Western, and those who are joining us on the various social media platforms, particularly PBCJ Live, and those seated in the gallery. Welcome to the Houses of Parliament. Call of the roll.
Mr. Clark, Mr. Bartlett, Dr. Holness, Dr. Chang, Mrs. Williams, Ms. Grange, Mr. McKenzie, Mr. Chuck, Mr. Vaz, Dr. Tufton, Mrs. Malahoo Fort, Mr. Green, Mr. Charles Jr., Mr. Matthew Samuda, Mr. Morgan, Mrs. Cuthbert Flynn, Mr. Main, Mr. Davis, Mr. Terrelong, Mr. Hutchinson, Mr. Witter, Dr. Dunn, Mr. Brown, Dr. Brown-Burke, Dr. Charles, Mr. Chin, Mr. Cousins, Ms. Crawford, Ms. Daly, Mrs. Dalrymple Philibert, Ms. Davis, Mr. Golding, Mr. Graham, Dr. Guy, Ms. Hamilton, Ms. Hannah, Mr. Enriquez, Mr. Henry, Mr. Hilton, Mr. Jackson, Mr. Lawrence, Ms. Lee, Mr. Miller, Mr. Montague, Ms. Morrison, Mrs. Nita Garvey, Mr. Paulwell, Mr. Phillips, Dr. Phillips, Mr. Robertson, Mr. Robinson, Mr. Samuda, Mr. Shaw, Mr. Sibley's, Mr. Slowly, Mr. Smith, Mrs. Vaz, Mr. Warmington, Dr. Wheatley, Mr. Williams, Mr. Wilson, and Mr. Wright. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. House Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'd ask for you to proceed with the agenda items that are listed here through to public business, where we will have two items. We'll have the presentation, the continuation of the sectoral debate with contribution from the Minister of Local Government and Community Development and Member of Parliament for Kingston Western, the Honorable Desmond McKenzie. And the other item will be will deal with the National Minimum Wage Amendment Order 2023 and the Minimum Wage Industrial Security Guards Amendment Order 2025. I'm sorry, in that order. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you so much, House Leader. Today is a very short and efficient day. Statement by ministers, announcements.
Laid on the table of the House is the following: Annual Performance Report of the Minister of Local Government and Community Development for the financial year 2024-2025. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Bills brought from the Senate, petitions, papers, reports from committees, notices of motions given orally, questions and answers to questions, motions that may be made at the commencement of public business requiring notice, motions relating to the sitting of the House, motions for leave to introduce bills, presentation of bills without leave of the House first obtained, public business. Orderly. As indicated by our House Leader, let's make welcome to his feet the Honorable Desmond McKenzie, MP for Western Kingston, the Minister of Local Government and Community Development.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is a very special time in my short life in politics. Short life, not as government, you know. Oh. Madam Speaker, this is my 48th year as an elected representative, both at the level of local government and central government, Madam Speaker. Today is the 28th of May, and today we all celebrate the 95th birthday of my mentor and the man who is responsible for my being here this afternoon, the Most Honorable Edward Philip George Siaga. Earlier today, we paid our respects to honor his life and his work, and I sat beside my good friend, the member from Southwest St. Andrew, and his worship, the mayor, who were all in attendance at a wonderful function celebrating the life and the work of probably Jamaica's most outstanding political leader for the last 100 years, the Most Honorable Edward Philip George Siaga. I want to, first of all, acknowledge the presence of the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Local Government, who is here with us in the well, and other officers of the ministry in the gallery, and also the councillors and mayors from the respective municipalities who are here this afternoon. And other persons who are here for the purpose of this presentation. But I want to, Madam Speaker, mention with a sense of gratitude and appreciation the wonderful, hard-working, loving, kind, decent, and supportive constituents of our great constituency, West Kingston, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, their contribution to Jamaica's development as a constituency should never be underestimated. I want to make the point, Madam Speaker, that West Kingston is the only political constituency in Jamaica since 1944 have only had a change in its political direction once since 1944. It is a constituency, Madam Speaker, that has the privilege of giving to Jamaica its first two prime ministers, Sir Alexander Bustamante and the Most Honorable Dr. Hugh Lawson Shearer. Following that, Madam Speaker, the constituency gave the Most Honorable Edward Philip George Siaga, the only politician in Jamaica since 1944 that has contested an election and have never lost a general election in Jamaica. Edward Seago holds that distinction, Madam Speaker, representing the great constituency of West Kingston. The Honorable Bruce Bowling, Madam Speaker, also served as Prime Minister representing the constituency of West Kingston. So West Kingston, Madam Speaker, is an important political institution in Jamaica, and I want to say to the constituents, those who contribute to the education in the constituency, those who contribute to our cultural success, our sporting program, I want to say, as your Member of Parliament, I am exceedingly glad and grateful for the opportunity to be serving you in various capacities since 1977, Madam Speaker, and I look forward to continue to support this great constituency with a great set of Jamaicans, the people of West Kingston. Madam Speaker, I want to also express gratitude to the various board chairmen and members of the respective boards that have served the Ministry of Local Government since 2026. My colleagues on the other side, on both sides of the aisle in the Parliament, we have had good moments and bad moments, but one of the sad thing about it is that I will always be referring to my friends on that side. Yeah, always on that side. But it still doesn't change the friendship that we share. Madam Speaker, Jamaica is fortunate to have perhaps one of the, if not, the best modern-day political leader in the Western Hemisphere. Not just as a leader who understands what it takes to lead. His commitment goes without question, Madam Speaker. And that is why, Madam Speaker, I have taken the decision that I choose to follow the footsteps of our Prime Minister in ensuring that Jamaica continues on this path of prosperity to expand the development that have started under his leadership. Madam Speaker, we must applaud and give the credit where credit is due, Madam Speaker. Absolutely. We are seeing developments taking place in Jamaica which is unprecedented under his leadership. His steady hands, Madam Speaker, and I am quite sure that the people of Jamaica, when the right time comes, will do what they know is the right thing in ensuring that he continues as Prime Minister of Jamaica. Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Local Government is an important part of the approach of government in making Jamaica the place of choice. One of the unquestionable benchmarks of the economy, the performance in any country, is job creation. Employment data are constantly monitored to assess whether or not things are improving, declining, or remain steady. Jamaica, under Dr. Olney's administration, continue to record impressive results, high levels of employment. And the system of local government is very important to this part of the transformation. This story has been written. In my previous presentation, the role and the importance of the development approval process was mentioned. I talk about the number of construction projects approved, from hotels to commercial buildings, the constructions of residential home plazas, etc. Billions of dollars of investment has been processed, generating a lot of interest in the Jamaican economy. The ministry, its agencies, and the local authorities have been ensuring that this continues to be the case. Specifically since 2016, Madam Speaker, over some 37,000 applications reflecting an investment value of nearly $1.7 trillion, Madam Speaker. And I'm speaking about the period of 2016, over 37,000 applications with a value of 1.7 trillion Jamaican dollars have been approved or processed by the local authorities, Madam Speaker. Despite the highly technical nature of the review process, the rate of approving these applications have never fallen below 84%, ensuring and maintaining the international standard and the investors' confidence in our approval process. What has never been talked about or highlighted is the contribution of the development approval process to direct job creation in Jamaica. Madam Speaker, over the last 9 years, local government system through the development approval process has generated approximately 740,000 jobs during construction at every stage, Madam Speaker. These are figures that anybody can dig up and find. The contribution of local government in providing jobs in the country, Madam Speaker, over the last 9 years is over 740,000, Madam Speaker. In the calendar year 24, 4,442 applications were received, representing investment value of $187.7 billion, Madam Speaker, in the calendar year 2024. There was an 117 increase in the number of industrial applications received for that calendar year. This reflects a significant upturn in the industrial sector as business interests continue to submit applications for development, factories, and other related infrastructure. Just Madam Speaker, as we are seeing this increase, we notice large developments with significant increase in the number of applications. 27% of building applications are for large residential developments, such as multifamily residence, high-density apartment and townhouses. There was an 11% increase in the number of applications to build large resorts throughout the country. The trend of investor confidence is high. Yes. We have seen a 6% increase in application for large commercial developments. 3,598 permits were issued during the year, representing investment value of $100 $149.7 billion. This is happening under the administration of Dr. Andrew Holness. Madam Speaker, efforts continue to ensure that the vast majority of applications is approved within the benchmark 90 days. I am aware that concerns have been raised by developers and others about the level of the pace, I should say, of the application process. But I want to give the country the assurance that the government continues to improve on the development approval process. And I can say without fear of contradiction, despite one and two itches, we are still approving developments within the 90-day period, Madam Speaker, and the local authorities must be commended for an excellent job, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Jamaica Fire Brigade is one of the critical agencies in the development approval process. I am happy to report that the JFB is still on the upward move of service delivery and continue to gain public confidence. This positive outcome has been driven by sound leadership and also, Madam Speaker, by the unprecedented capital investment that this government has made in the Jamaica Fire Brigade since 2016. Nobody can question the commitment of this government when it comes on to the Jamaica Fire Brigade. Madam Speaker, we have modernized the Jamaica Fire Brigade. What we inherited in 2016, we couldn't talk about it. There was not much to speak about. But we have put 2016 or 2015 behind us. We are in 2025, and the Jamaica Fire Brigade continues to be one of the leading service providers in this country and perhaps in the region, Madam Speaker. You know, I hear a little laugh, but I wonder, how can we be critical when we did absolutely nothing to support the brigade? They never had trucks. They never had stations. They never had firefighting equipment. Madam Speaker, this government has invested over $5.5 billion in the critical agency of the Jamaica Fire Brigade. We have more fire trucks than ever before, brand new trucks, fire boats. Madam Speaker, the Fire Brigade now have the technical capacity to do what is necessary, Madam Speaker. We are training fire investigators. In the last financial year alone, an unprecedented $120 million was spent to obtain 535 bushfire bunker gear for our firefighters, Madam Speaker. We have seen a significant upturn in bushfires in the country. And in order for the brigade to respond, they needed the requisite tools. And we have provided it, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, one of the sources of all emergency calls that the GFB continue to receive, they have been taking over 55% of all the calls that were made were related to bushfires. And they have been able to respond, Madam Speaker. We continue to upgrade the network of the fire stations, which are the significant point of the contact to respond to fires. I am pleased to announce, Madam Speaker, that after years of neglect, rundown, I will be officially handing over the new renovated fire station in Anata Bay, which was refurbished at a cost of over $90 million, Madam Speaker. One more, Madam Speaker, that will allow the firefighters to work in comfort. The JFB continued to improve in efficiency during the use of modern technology. In this regard, Madam Speaker, I am happy to advise the House that in addition to the new records management software system, which I announced last year, the JFB have been installing Starlink satellite network service to increase service reach across the country, Madam Speaker. This is a new feature to the Jamaica Fire Brigade in terms of the service. So the various divisional headquarters in St. James, in St. Mary, St. Elizabeth, Westmoreland, Kingston, Manchester, St. Andrew and St. Catherine will all have these facilities to improve its capabilities, Madam Speaker. The fire prevention unit in St. Anne will be greatly enhanced by the communication and data sharing speed across the brigade, especially from remote areas. Madam Speaker, this is a significant investment in the Jamaica Fire Brigade. Madam Speaker, the country must appreciate and understand when there is a motor vehicle accident, it is the Jamaica Fire Brigade which has to respond to the calls. So what have we been doing, Madam Speaker? We're not only improving the technology of the Jamaica Fire Brigade, we're also improving the emergency medical services, Madam Speaker. We have 7 such locations operating in Waterford, Linstead, Falmouth, Ironshore, Lucy, Negril, and Savlamar. And they are served by 93 emergency medical technicians. The ministry is making a special effort to acquire additional ambulance services, Madam Speaker, to fully support the expansion. And today, I am pleased to announce to this Honourable House that the Sandals Group have indicated in writing that they are donating 2 ambulances to the emergency service at a value of over $12 million to be located in the parishes of St. James and St. Anne, Madam Speaker, to aid the service. And I want to commend the Sandal Group, Madam Speaker, and the Ministry of Local Government will be making the necessary arrangements to provide 3 additional ambulances, Madam Speaker, to improve the service of the Jamaica Fire Brigade so that the emergency services across the country can be expanded to respond when there is a need, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I now turn to the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, ADPEM. As everybody knows, that Jamaica is is in the top tier of the most disastrous countries in the world. And therefore, Madam Speaker, it is important that our emergency service response capabilities is at a level that when it becomes necessary, we can respond. Madam Speaker, I will not deny that there have been challenges with the operations at the ADPEM. Madam Speaker, I want to say to the country that despite the shortcomings they continue to provide vital service to the people of Jamaica. This government has invested significantly in the work of the ADPEM. And we continue, Madam Speaker, to strengthen the organization. Last year I spoke about the JICA project, a joint project with the Japanese government to strengthen the communications capabilities of the organization. And that emergency radio system was tested during Beryl, Madam Speaker, and I must say it worked, and I want to thank the Japanese government for its continued assistance in this program. Starlink will also be a new feature this year in the communication tools of the ADPEM. The shelters, Madam Speaker, have been visited, assessed by the ADPEM team along with the Ministry of Labor, the Ministry of Health, and all shelters in Jamaica, based on the reports, are in a state of readiness in case there is a need to use our shelters. Madam Speaker, the Most Honorable Prime Minister announced that he would be naming a committee to have an overall look at our disaster response mechanism right across the country. And a committee headed by the former Commissioner of Police, now Ambassador to the United States, Major General Anthony Anderson, head a committee, Madam Speaker, which look into our state of disaster readiness. That report has been presented to the Cabinet, and the important key recommendations that has been made by the committee, several of those recommendations is presently being implemented. I want to say how grateful we are and to say a special word of thanks to Ambassador Anthony Anderson and his team for the job that they did and for the strong recommendations that they have made. Madam Speaker, I want to use this opportunity to say to the House and to the country that it is anticipated that the upcoming hurricane season is going to be one of the most active hurricane seasons that we have experienced. As a country, and I urge support in speaking to the nation about preparing ourselves. You know, when we talk negative and we are critical about sensitive services that are offered by government, people become confused because they don't understand why we are saying this and somebody else is saying that. Madam Speaker, the question of disaster must never encounter political roadblock in this country, and I call for national unity. I call for national unity in preparing the country for the upcoming hurricane season, Madam Speaker. We have provided the resources, Madam Speaker, to ensure that the country can respond, Madam Speaker. And so, Madam Speaker, the launch of the hurricane season will take place next week, when the Most Honorable Prime Minister will speak to the nation. The municipal corporations have been advised that for the month of May and June, their PRF allocations should be used for drain cleaning, mitigation across the country. So, Madam Speaker, I urge the country to listen to the various bulletins, members of parliament, councillors, to engage your constituents, especially those who are in areas that are prone to flooding. And let me make the point, Madam Speaker, there's no longer any area of Jamaica that you can say that flooding will not take place, Madam Speaker. We are seeing a difference now, Madam Speaker, and I urge the country to get on board, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we have been able, because of the management of the economy, especially using the National Disaster Fund. And I want the country to know that when you have sound economic policies, careful planning and partnership, the government is better prepared than ever before. So we have been able to go through burial and other disasters without asking anybody for anything. And 3 parishes, Madam Speaker, benefited from the Disaster Relief Fund: Clarendon, Kingston and St. Andrew, and St. Elizabeth. Because of significant breakaway, the National Disaster Fund was able to release $168 million to these 3 municipalities to undertake significant repair works in their respective parishes. That is what good government is all about, when you keep a steady hand. Yes. And with all the things that we have put in place, the bonds, the financial security, to ensure we are able to respond, I am saying that we are prepared as a country, but we need everybody to join us in that crusade. Madam Speaker, I now turn to a model organization, the National Solid Waste Management Authority. Madam Speaker, while we are not where we want to be, but we are in a far better place than we have ever been with the organization, Madam Speaker. We continue, Madam Speaker, over the last 2 years, spending some 14 million US to purchase new trucks and to deploy other bits of equipment to improve the service delivery of the organization. There has been a significant reduction in the backlog of solid waste. Madam Speaker, I know that at times people will speak about the challenges. I guess we admit that there are challenges, Madam Speaker. But the challenges that we face, Madam Speaker, is not just the fault of the MSWMA. And if the truth be told, Madam Speaker, we need to take a lot more pride in how we dispose of our garbage. You know, one of the features of the MSWMA, Madam Speaker, is that nobody can complain that they're not hearing from them, Madam Speaker. They talk to you a lot. They are communicating. They are in every constituency, Madam Speaker. And last week, they were in the constituency of Southwest, working with the MP in the Pass the Broom initiative, Madam Speaker. And they'll be going to constituencies right across the country. It's a part of this initiative, Madam Speaker and colleagues, to clean the country. But again, I want to urge Jamaicans, containerize your garbage. Yes. It is important. At the launch in my constituency, I said to them, look, I will buy the garbage bag and give it to you. I have to lead by example as the minister with responsibility. And I urge all members of parliament in this honorable house and councillors, let us become crusaders in the pursuit of a cleaner Jamaica, because a clean Jamaica benefits all of us, Madam Speaker. And they, Madam Speaker, are going to be intensifying over the next year a massive program of public education. It is not that they're not doing it, Madam Speaker. The trucks, the investment that we have made, Madam Speaker, I've seen the organization expanding its collections in 21 new areas, Madam Speaker. They have expanded areas in the corporate area, up in St. Andrew, in the northern and western regions, and right across the country. They are taking on more communities, and the more communities come on the system, Madam Speaker, is the more they are prepared to respond. But again, we need the public support. There are too many of our citizens who litter without a second thought. Even where containers are provided, the challenge of commercial operators who dump the waste of all kinds. You pass home land and you see construction material. Yes. You pass there this morning and it is empty. Yes. And by the time you get up in the morning, you don't recognize it, Madam Speaker. Yep. Madam Speaker, we are going to put the nest. We have started already, Madam Speaker. And you can't blame government, Madam Speaker, for that. And I'm saying, Madam Speaker, that the National Solid Waste Management Authority has issued over 200 tickets to those persons who have been caught dumping. Madam Speaker, they are making an impact, Madam Speaker. But we need the support. We need people to call, report where it is happening, take down the license plate number, and give it to the agency, Madam Speaker. Because until people start to pay some big money and lose the service of their vehicles, Madam Speaker, then they will not have an appreciation for the discomfort that they are causing many other Jamaicans, Madam Speaker. And I urge, again, Madam Speaker, that we give the support to the National Solid Waste Management Authority, to the board, to the directors and those who are out there on the streets doing the job, Madam Speaker, sweeping the place. And the government can provide all the resources that we want. But we need to develop the kind of self-pride that is needed as a nation to move the country forward, Madam Speaker. And I call for the support. Madam Speaker, the Ministry of Local Development, the Ministry of Local Government and Community Development has responsibility for wide areas of community programs, Madam Speaker. One of the most improved agencies of government under this administration is the Social Development Commission, the SDC. Madam Speaker, we continue to provide the kind of support for the SDC that they never had before, Madam Speaker. We have provided over some $1.8 billion in support to the SDC to undertake various programs across the country. One of the impressive work of the organization is the Local Economic Development Support Program. This is an outstanding program, Madam Speaker, where ordinary community Jamaicans get an opportunity to start to develop professional discipline to match their talent, to help themselves to get certified. Madam Speaker, the SDC has been making life-changing income and impact in local-based communities right across the country. The last financial year alone, the program supported some 390 local economic initiatives. Those targeted interventions created, Madam Speaker, 1,285 jobs and put over $6 million in various community operations across the country. Last year, they facilitated 187 entrepreneurial training sessions, and over 700 people participated. They required a critical business skill and knowledge of business of principle. Throughout this program, 90 business economic events were held, at which the participants earned a combined income of nearly $11.5 million. I am very encouraged by the administrative and entrepreneurial grants being provided in the last financial year, Madam Speaker. $20 million in grants were distributed, and this money was given to well-supported over 300 groups, Madam Speaker, benefited from these initiatives. Madam Speaker, this is a government that understands that it takes cash to care, and we have put the necessary resources in place to allow the SDC to work. I want to remind this House, and I have to say it every time, and I'm saying it this year, and I'm going to say it next year, and the next year after, and the other year. When we came in government, Madam Speaker, there was zero in the budget, zero in the budget to support the work of the SDC. Zero. Zero, Madam Speaker. And so, Madam Speaker, we have changed the direction of the SDC, Madam Speaker. We have expanded their capacity. We have given them the confidence that they need, Madam Speaker. And outside of the confidence, we have given them, Madam Speaker, the resources. And that is why, Madam Speaker, based on the significant injection that the entrepreneurial program has made, Madam Speaker, today I want to announce that this program will be expanded this year, and it is our intention to certify 150,000 new entrepreneurs over the next 2 years, Madam Speaker, to provide opportunities for young business in communities, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, you'll be surprised at the level of business that is done by these young entrepreneurs. And let me say this, Madam Speaker. They don't just get the funds, Madam Speaker. They have to go to training. They have to give a report. While 1 and 2 might fall by the way, Madam Speaker, but more than 85% of those who have got the benefit is still in business, Madam Speaker. And that is why we are expanding the program to bring more young business people in our communities on the road of prosperity to make them understand that they choose us as the government and we choose to provide the resources to make them better, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Board of Supervision, a key actor in the ministry and the government strategies to ensure that no citizen is excluded from the improvement of building a better Jamaica. I am proud of the leadership of the Board of Supervision, headed by a
Madam Speaker,
Members' time for speaking has expired, House Leader.
Yeah, Madam Speaker, I ask that the Minister be given 25 minutes to complete his presentation.
House, the question is that the member be allowed 25 minutes to complete his presentation. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. Minister, you may continue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, colleagues. Madam Speaker, I was mentioning the fact that the organization, the Board of Supervision, is headed by a young woman, Madam Speaker. And we have to talk about the public servants who do well. And there's a secretary, Ms. Trika Lewis, I want to mention her, Madam Speaker, because she has been a tower of strength, Madam Speaker, in guiding the programs of the poor relief for the Ministry of Local Government, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we are doing new things in poor relief. Quite recently, I spoke at a graduation ceremony for nearly 50 psychiatric nurses' aid, Madam Speaker. For the first time in the history of poor relief, in our infirmaries, Golden Age home, there will be a psychiatric nurse to attend. Never before, it has never happened, Madam Speaker. And we have now included, Madam Speaker, the psychiatric nurse aid in our infirmaries and Golden Age homes. These professionals are critical to the management of the residents, and a significant number of some of our residents have mental challenges, Madam Speaker. But we never before had the capacity, Madam Speaker. Now this caring government has put in place, Madam Speaker, and every infirmary, every Golden Age home, Madam Speaker, now have psychiatric nurse aid. Every Golden Age home have a dietitian, never happened before under this government. Every Golden Age home, every infirmary have a physiotherapy. Never happened before, Madam Speaker, under this government. Under this government, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, we are going much further. You know, Madam Speaker, because of the importance of these institutions, we'll be training over the next financial year an additional 31 psychiatric nurses, Madam Speaker, to put into the system. Madam Speaker, one of the challenges that our homes, the infirmaries, and our Golden Age home experience, that if in the middle of the night or in the day, something happened to one of the residents, they have to either call a taxi or the matron or somebody have to put them in a car and rush them to the hospital, and then you have to be careful how you move these people, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'm pleased to announce just recently, I handed over 2 new ambulances. One to the St. Elizabeth Municipal Corporation, and last week to the Portland Municipal Corporation for 2 infirmaries. Madam Speaker, an additional 3 will be provided to the Vineyard Town Golden Age Home. The St. Thomas Infirmary and the St. Anne Infirmary, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this will come at a cost of over $63 million, Madam Speaker. We have developed a partnership with the Chase Fund. And Madam Speaker, let me say this. The Chase Fund and the Ministerial local government has developed a partnership. Madam Speaker, 5 years ago, when the power go out, a stinning lamp and candle was the source of light in our infirmaries and Golden Age Home. Gone are those days because of the relationship with Chase Fund. Every infirmary and Golden Age Home in the country is equipped, not a little peke generator, state-of-the-art generator. Yeah? Peke mean you get a little something and you have to pull the string. That do happen. Comes on automatically. And let me say this, Madam Speaker. As the minister, I'm a part of a government that made that a priority, Madam Speaker. Because when I visit the homes and I listen to the residents, they talk to you, Madam Speaker.
That's caring for the vulnerable.
And we, Madam Speaker, have been making the kind of investments in our infirmaries, Golden Age Homes. Yes. One of the new features is the new therapeutic park, Madam Speaker. What is it? When you go to, the last one I opened was in Spanish Town, Madam Speaker. The therapeutic park brings a sense of comfort to the residents. They can go out and they can sit down. If you go to Vineyard Town now, Golden Age Home, and look at what exists at Vineyard Town Golden Age Home, you'd be surprised. You would believe that you are walking into a 5-star hotel. I was in St. James recently, opening one of the most spacious dining room ever. This is in an infirmary, Madam Speaker. Many of the people who live in these that we have responsibility for, they contributed to the growth and development of Jamaica. They meet on our time. And it is our responsibility as dear government, Madam Speaker. And I make no apologies for the investment that this government has made, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, we continue to make investments. The St. Catherine Infirmary, which is one of the oldest in the country, I am announcing that $60 million will be provided this year to construct a new male ward at the St. Catherine Infirmary, Madam Speaker. The efforts continue, Madam Speaker. A night shelter, Madam Speaker, to accommodate over 20 homeless, Madam Speaker. Homeless people in St. Thomas. We're expanding on the drop-in center to take in 20 more, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the transitional center in Kingston will be ready in 1 month's time to take an additional 100 people off the streets of the Carpentier, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the most honorable Prime Minister, in his budget, presentation spoke of the intention to build right across the country 14 major homeless shelters. The discussions, Madam Speaker, is far advanced with the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation and the National Housing Trust to execute the wishes or the instructions of the Most Honorable Prime Minister. So, Madam Speaker, we can't put no rolling calf in the way of prosperity. Madam Speaker, we will be working to ensure the reach and effectiveness of our responsibility to the outdoor poor. They have a range of needs, from rental assistance to medical services. This year, the allocation, Madam Speaker, I want you to listen, is because we have a steady driver. Proper management of the economy, Madam Speaker. This year, Madam Speaker, the allocation for the care of the outdoor will move, Madam Speaker, from 150 million. This year, Madam Speaker, we are budgeting to increase the allocations for poor relief to $250 million, Madam Speaker. One of the most important achievements in our poor relief program, Madam Speaker, is the investment, the provisions for scholarships for children of less fortunate families. The Board of Supervision and the Poor Relief Department have responsibility for over 500 of those students, Madam Speaker. And they have received special awards, bursary, outstanding academic achievements. We have lawyers now, doctors, Madam Speaker. And since 2019, we have been increasing. Madam Speaker, I am proud to announce that we will be spending an additional $20 million to improve our educational standard for children of people whose children, poor people picnic, who are registered poor, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, we continue to make this investment, Madam Speaker. And I want to say, Madam Speaker, the reason why we have to make these investments to ensure that the poor have an appreciation that there's a government that cares, Madam Speaker. Yes. That's why we are building more drop-in centers, more homeless centers. We're increasing the amount of allocation for feeding of people on the streets, Madam Speaker. And I don't want people to believe that we're spending this money and they're staying on the street. Madam Speaker, over 50 homeless persons have graduated and has gone back into society under the ongoing program, Madam Speaker. But Madam Speaker, when I speak about protection, I want to go back to a point, Madam Speaker, that I don't think the people of Jamaica should ever forget. Madam Speaker, on May 20th, 1980, the evening tide home in St. Andrew, 45 years ago, 45 years and 8 days ago, over 150 elderly women perish in the most disastrous fire in the history of Jamaica. Probably the only disaster that surpassed the evening tide home fire would be Kendall Crash. Kendall Crash was an accident, but evening tide home was a man-made disaster, Madam Speaker. 150 women were burned to death in a fire that is recorded in the history of Jamaica, Madam Speaker. And even today, Madam Speaker, nobody talks about it. Nobody remembers the sufferings of those persons. Madam Speaker, I took to Cabinet a submission, and the Cabinet has approved that submission, Madam Speaker. And once the consent is granted by His Excellency, annually, Madam Speaker, every day on the 20th of May of every year, we will commemorate the life of those who perish at the evening tide home. The Ministry of Local Government, Madam Speaker, holds a responsibility where we will pay tribute. And I'm not going to wait until next May for it to happen, Madam Speaker. Once we have declared it, Madam Speaker, we will take the necessary steps to start the ball rolling. A proper monument, Madam Speaker. The country, Madam Speaker, the country should never forget what took place, Madam Speaker. We have had incidents where the poor and the destitute were scraped up and dumped in a mud lake, Madam Speaker. The country cannot, and we must never, Madam Speaker, go back to those days where the poor and destitute suffers, Madam Speaker. And this government is committed, Madam Speaker, to ensuring that we do all that we can to ensure that the lives of those persons should just go up in smoke, just like that, Madam Speaker. And so we will declare the 20th of May every year as a national day of remembrance. It is not a public holiday. The same way we have wreath laying on days of birthdays, it will be a similar event with the Ministry of Local Government, and we will coordinate with the Ministry of Gender, Culture and Sports, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'm coming down. The functions and conditions of our markets are amongst the most important challenge we face as a country. This critical economic and social hub that has provided reliable employment and self-employment for thousands of Jamaicans. This administration has made critical strides in the rehabilitation of markets. In the last financial year, we provided some 200 million, which was spent to repair markets, including public sanitary facilities. However, the reality is that most of our markets, Madam Speaker, are over 100 years old. And let me say, Madam Speaker, within the last 6 years, 90% of the fires in markets across this country is because of electrical short circuit. Madam Speaker, we have taken a bold decision. The new Buff Bay market that we are building now, Madam Speaker, which we are building at a cost at $48 million, will be the new market design that you will take across the country. When you look at that market that we're building, Prime Minister, it gives you ventilation, natural lighting, so there will be no need for any tropes, Madam Speaker. And that will be the new look market when we sign the contract for the Alexandria market in a couple of weeks' time, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, the markets will come equipped with fire sprinklers. We know the problems, Madam Speaker. We're making the investments. We're making the investments, Madam Speaker. We're going to be spending an additional funding on the Ocherius market. We spent some $12 million putting in new bathroom fixers. But you know, Madam Speaker, we fix up the bathroom nice. And guess what happened? Them go inside and thief out the ball and the... Madam Speaker, that is not going to stop us. Not going to stop us. So we are spending to improve the markets. We spent over some $25 million at Santa Cruz putting in a proper drainage system, and additional works will be done on the Santa Cruz market, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, one of the markets that touched me more than anything else is the Yalas market. When I went to St. Thomas in 2016 in the by-election, the vendors meet me and them say, Mr. McKenzie, see the market there? We can't go in there. I said, what is the problem? They rent out the market, lease out the market to somebody, to one of them Tapanaris friends. And you know what him had in the market? Him selling car parts in the market. And the vendors, Madam Speaker, is sitting outside at the market gate, can't go into the market. And Madam Speaker, I made a commitment that I'm going to change it. But when I asked for the information, the man had a lease for nearly 100 years. So, Madam Speaker, we have to wait until the lease expires. Madam Speaker, I am proud. But you know, Madam Speaker, I want the country to know that the Yalas market is not the only market that has been leased out. Madam Speaker, more than 40% of the markets in Jamaica within the last 20 odd years have been leased out to people with close connections. What? You have one of the markets, you know what they're doing there? They make headstones. What? In Westmoreland. And the vendors are out in the street in the sun. And they lease the market, Madam Speaker. Well, Madam Speaker, I want to make it clear. And I've said to all the MCs, we have written to all the MCs, once the lease expires on these markets, they must not be renewed, Madam Speaker. And Yalas market, Madam Speaker, I am proud to announce that the Yalas market is now back in the hands of the St. Thomas Municipal Cooperative. The vendors, Madam Speaker, to show you how much they want to go into the market. When I visited them out there, you know what they say? They say, Minister, we don't care. We're willing to go into the market in the condition that it is in now. And what we did, we provided some funds to do some emergency cleanup. And we put them in there. And they say, look, they are willing to stay in the market during the construction. Madam Speaker, the contract for 20 million will now come in effect to carry out the repairs to the Yalas market. When we met with the vendors, they said they don't want to go back on the street. They're willing to occupy one side of the market while the work taking place, and when it reaches them, they go to the other side of the market. We say yes. So, Madam Speaker, in order to allow the vendors to feel appreciated, a decision was taken to suspend market fees for 3 months. I am pleased to announce, Madam Speaker, that we will be suspending market fees for the use of the Yalas market for the rest of the year, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, we will do all that is necessary to improve our markets. Finally, Madam Speaker, the ministry continues to work with various government agencies. But I want to say this, Madam Speaker. While we are making the investments, while we are making the investments in the market, Madam Speaker, the vendors and the public must also understand that public order has to be maintained in our market space. And we're going to be working closely with the National Security Council, led by the Most Honorable Prime Minister, and other stakeholders to ensure public order. Because the police, ambulance, vehicular, and pedestrian traffic must have free access to go through the market district, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, we continue to provide improved service. Quickly, I want to mention minor water supplies. Additionally, Madam Speaker, we are working with other agencies, Minister Samuda through Rural Water, to try to improve the service delivery of our minor water supplies. Last year, we spent $135 million on the trucking of water and through our minor water systems, Madam Speaker. We understand that a joined-up approach to improve water quality and water service is the best way to go, Madam Speaker. So that is why we are engaging the Minister with state for responsibility for water in this area, Madam Speaker, and I will be speaking some more about that, Madam Speaker. My final and most important intervention today, Madam Speaker, speaks to the question of roads. Madam Speaker, local government, through its system, accounts for more than 22,000 kilometers of road network across Jamaica. The cost to repair these roads, some of which are in bad shape for decades, cost a lot. Yes. In the last financial year, Madam Speaker, additional funding came from the Ministry of Finance, over some 200 million, along with the parochial revenue funds which the MCs get every month for roads. But, Madam Speaker, we have to redefine and modernize this effort as it relates to roads, yes, Madam Speaker. Yes. The ministry is developing a comprehensive database using technology, working closely with the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. We started during the Spark program exercise, and we have expanded that. So we can tell you what is wrong with the road, the depth of the road, where the drain exists, what is the problem of the roads. But, Madam Speaker, it is going to be difficult under these circumstances for us to effectively deal with the conditions of our roads. Madam Speaker, I want to make it abundantly clear that the Ministry of Local Government has no problem in looking at a one-road authority. And let me make it clear, the one-road authority does not mean you're going to be taking away the responsibility of the roads from the local authority. What it does, it puts us in a position, Madam Speaker, where the technology exists, where we can look at a standard that goes for all roads, Madam Speaker. And this is supported, Madam Speaker, by an effort that is presently being undertaken now, Madam Speaker. The government has a responsibility to respond to the needs of our road network, and we are willing to become partners, Madam Speaker. So I don't want to say that we are marginalizing local government. What we are doing is strengthening the ability of local government to deliver service. Because 22,000 kilometers of road is not Fenke road, Madam Speaker. It speaks about the greater majority of the country's road network. And that collective response of both central government and local government collectively will get us to that place where we want. And Madam Speaker, we're working towards that. Finally, there is no question that Jamaica in 2025 is a far better country than it was when this administration took over in 2016. Through hard work, smart work, supported all the way by our citizens, we have turned the economy around and have given Jamaicans a fighting chance to be elevated, to elevate themselves on the road of development. The system of local government has been a major contributor to this new and improved Jamaica. We are committed to make life even better for every Jamaican. The government made a commitment to improve our people's lives, whether their social standings. We have been keeping the promise by doing many things, including building strong, modern, pretty, indigent housing, well-furnished, Madam Speaker. Not something that people is trying to discredit, to talk about. And Prime Minister, allow me 2 minutes, Madam Speaker. Since we started to build these houses in 2016, there is not one person who have gotten any of these houses can complain that it leak, the roof blow off, or anybody take with them house. We have never, that has never been a part of our policy, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, they are trying to discredit the most impressive social housing program that has ever. The Prime Minister's social housing program is a dream. And we have lifted the standard of indigent housing up, Madam Speaker. And we make no apologies, Madam Speaker. So that is why this year, Madam Speaker, the prosperity continues. We'll be spending $500 million in building 45 brand new concrete indigent housing in St. Thomas, St. James, Clarendon, Portland, and St. Ann. How can you stop this prosperity, Madam Speaker? How How can you say the aeroplane run out of gas in the middle of the year and you come out to look gas, Madam Speaker? Madam Speaker, we know where the gas is. We have the aeroplane full of gas. So, Madam Speaker, we don't need to stop somewhere to buy gas. We don't need to find out what is it we're going to do. We know what we are doing. So we will continue to do what we're doing, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we have made historical investment. Hold on. And I know everybody going to like this one. We have made historical investment improving the national network of streetlights across the country. Everybody clap for that because there is significant improvement in streetlights. Hello, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker. The Ministry of Finance took a bold step in paying off the $7.2 billion of debt that we inherited from the previous administration for streetlights. So, Madam Speaker, because we have been able to wipe that off, Madam Speaker, we have seen more streetlights being installed. But, Madam Speaker, the truth be told, you know, I don't want to speak about that road that we cut when the work was being done on Spanish Town Road that takes you behind the train line. Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, every time the GPS put up the light post, right now, Madam Speaker, you go around there, the GPS decided, no go. You know, them thief the light, Madam Speaker. Thief them. So, Madam Speaker, despite the thieving the light, Madam Speaker, I am pleased, please, you're going to like this. I am pleased to announce, Madam Speaker, that an additional 22,800 streetlights will be installed across the country over the next 2 years. This means, Madam Speaker, that there are 228 municipal divisions in Jamaica. Each of them will get 50 streetlights installed each year. And members of Parliament and the average Jamaicans can make application for light, Madam Speaker. It is because, Madam Speaker, the government has built a strong economy. The administration continues to champion a strong sense of civic and public pride. Madam Speaker, the flagship of this administration is the Youth Summer Employment Program, Madam Speaker. This, Madam Speaker, is the largest youth employment program in the English-speaking Caribbean. Last year, we increased the numbers to 10,000. And Madam Speaker, I know the Youth Summer Employment Program have bipartisan support right across. Absolutely. Not me. So, Madam Speaker, last year we improved the program to 10,000. This year, Madam Speaker, we will remain the same. But you know, the economy is good. Yes. So the minimum wage has been increased. And so we are moving the weekly salary to 17,000 a week for 4 years. Madam Speaker, while our young people are finding their way, the Social Development Commission is working to create the next class of business Jamaica. For the first time, Madam Speaker, as I said, we'll be expanding the entrepreneurial grant to 150,000 young people over the next 2 years. We have achieved a lot, Madam Speaker. Yes. When all is said and done, the great success of this administration, well, you know, let us put it this way. It's far more than what you have been doing in your many years in government. Okay? So, Madam Speaker, I am proud to be a part of a government that is still creating and implementing new ideas to speed up the development of Jamaica. We are driven by a constant desire to turn vision into reality. The positive things that are happening are not accidental. They are happening because the people of Jamaica are accepting that we are working hard for them and they are giving us their critical cooperation and support. These positive things are happening because we are working as a joined-up government, putting in place teamwork to make the Jamaican dream a reality. In the 10 years of service as an administrator, our focus on developing Jamaica and our commitment to the people are even greater now than they were 10 years ago, Madam Speaker. We knew when we were seeking office, the task of overcoming decades of economic and social damage was huge. That it would mean short nights, long days, and tremendous personal sacrifice. We choose to take on the task because we choose Jamaica as our home, the place to live, raise our families in amongst the people who we grew up with. In this year, Madam Speaker, something will happen. I don't know. We reaffirm that we choose Jamaica. And we stand ready to continue serving the people of Jamaica as the government. Madam Speaker, I want to quote something from the Bible. And it is from the book of Joshua. From the book of Joshua. Chapter 24, 14 and 15. That reflects our views on this side as servants of the people. It says, fear the Lord, serve him in sanctuary and in faithfulness. Choose this day who you will serve. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. And I know, Madam Speaker, that Jamaicans will make the right choice. We have a true, tried, tested leader. If we never use the word, you lick him up, you pick him down and bounce right back, and I use it again. But this Prime Minister, this leader, genuine. Genuine. Knows what he wants. This is what the country needs, Madam Speaker. We will continue to be blessed and guided by the Lord Almighty. We continue to give service with sincerity. We do not, Madam Speaker, we do not choose Jamaica because it is fashionable. We choose Jamaica to serve the people of Jamaica. We love the people of Jamaica. Jamaica, the land we love. We have been building bigger, better, and stronger. Prosperity will continue. We choose Jamaica. I urge Jamaicans to dismiss mischief, continue on the road of prosperity.
House Leader.
Madam Speaker, I now ask that the sectoral debate be suspended.
Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And now I'll ask you to invite the Minister of Labour and Social Security, who will take the National Minimum Wage Amendment Order 2025 and the Minimum Wage Industrial Security Guards Amendment Order 2025. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, House Leader. Minister?
Thank you. Thank you, Madam
Labour
Speaker.
and Social Security.
It's a matter of... Not needed, not needed. The long statements have been treated with before, Madam Speaker, so it's just a matter of formality to take both the National Minimum Wage and the Industrial Security Guards Amendment. So, Madam Speaker, on the 20th day of May 2025, the National Minimum Wage Amendment Order 2025 was laid on the table of the House and notice given for its affirmation. Madam Speaker, I now move that the motion, notice of which was given on the 20th day of May 2025, be approved. And taking
Would
it
you
one
be
at a
so
time.
kind as to do both, Minister?
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, again on the 20th day of May 2025, the Minimum Wage Industrial Security Guards Amendment Order 2025 was laid on the table of the House and notice given for its affirmation. And I now move that the motion, notice of which was given on the 20th day of May 2025, be approved. Thank you.
Minister, I see the mic on for the member from St. Andrews Southwest who would like to contribute.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as usual, we have absolutely no problem with an increase in the minimum wage. As we keep saying, every dollar that is added to the pocket of our workers is something that we applaud. Of course, we would really want to see Jamaica moving to establish a livable wage, and that is something that I am anxious for us to be able to get that started. We are committing as government to ensure that that happens. I also just wanted to say just two quick things. One is that we need a system that is reliable, that is confidential, that allows individuals to make complaints where persons are not abiding by the law. Right? That's one. I know that persons call NIS and so on these days, but it is not what I'm talking. We need a confidential and reliable system where those complaints can be made and so the investigations can be done. Also, I believe that the government, in terms of the number of persons that work with government, especially among those the security officers, for example, 60% of security workers work with government, either directly or through third parties. And I believe that we have not done enough to ensure that employers are living up to their obligations. And that is something that I think we cannot continue to turn a blind eye to.
Minister, yes, we would appreciate your response before we conclude the debate.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just to thank my colleague for the support and also for the criticisms, which we in response, I can indicate that the system that we have now is one which is quite confidential. We receive several complaints, we receive several recommendations on a weekly basis. Persons come in, persons call, and it's actually quite structured because the team collaborates with the persons who provide that information to ensure that we carry out the necessary enforcement and monitoring. Nevertheless, I don't think that there's any difficulty in the concept of there being room for improvement. And it's something which we're looking on in terms of just the whole structure relating to the procedure. So we take your comments and it will form part of what we use to assess the way forward. In terms of the second comment, I can tell you that the team that does the enforcement, they are on the ground consistently. Of course, there's always a need for expansion in numbers. They are methodical, but we receive the criticism and certainly no difficulty in the concept of that team expanding in numbers based on the amount of business that we have in Jamaica now, which is also expanding. So, thank you to our colleague. I take the opportunity, Madam Speaker, just to remind those who are listening, those who are watching, that the minimum wage is really just a legal floor. It is not a moral ceiling, something which I had indicated when we had extended discussion on the matter. And so it's a matter of us protecting the workers to ensure that there's no exploitation for them to be working below. We encourage persons who can, all individuals and business, to ensure that they do more if you have the capacity to do so. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Minister, you had asked previously that the motion be approved. The question is that the motion be approved. Those in favor? Aye. Those against? The ayes have it. Thank you very much, House Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it is not contemplated for us to do any further business today. I therefore ask that the House adjourns to June 3, 2025 at 2 p.m. sharp. We will continue the debate, the sectoral debate, on Tuesday when we will have 3 speakers: Honorable Delroy Chuck, Member of Parliament, St. Andrew North Eastern; Honorable Robert Nestor Morgan, MP Clarendon North Central; and Dr. Angela Brownberg, Member of Parliament, St. Andrew Southwest. So, Madam Speaker,
House,
I ask at this time for the adjournment. Thank you.
the question is that the House do now adjourn for next meeting, being the 3rd of June, 2025 at 2 p.m. sharp. Those in favor? Those against? The ayes have it. This Honorable House now stands adjourned.
Join the conversation focusing on Jamaica's development. Tune in to the post-cabinet press briefings, Wednesdays live at 9 a.m. with a rebroadcast at 9 p.m.